Welcome to the Society with Fatma Shaheen at PTB World. According to the World Health Organization, 58.1% of Pakistanis are overweight and 43.9% of the population is also suffering from obesity. Now, considering the fact that, we have such statistics in mind, and considering, of course, the fact that over a period of time, we have seen more and more cases of various chronic illnesses and, of course, mental health disorders come forward too, it is very important then to sit back and analyze that how has not only Pakistan's health but also fitness industry emerged over a period of time so as to address all these issues, and this is something upon which we'll be shedding light during the course of today's conversation. Overall, we'll be talking about the changing dynamics of this very industry. We'll be talking about how people now today have especially redefined what they consider to be healthy, focusing generally on having a more sustainable lifestyle as opposed to going for the quick fixes. We'll also be talking about how over a period of time there generally has been more emphasis on having more open and of course mature conversations about mental health, that too post COVID-19. We'll also be talking about the need for there to be of course inclusion of everybody when it comes to accessing the healthcare industry too in this regard. And in this regard, we'll also be talking about the comparatively newer branch of medicine, which is that of functional medicine, and how does this particular branch of medicine then also cater to doing away with the root causes of several diseases that people may suffer from. We'll also be talking about how aesthetic medicine and of course usage of the same has also impacted and in turn also redefined our definitions of fitness, so to speak. Overall, we'll also be touching upon how social media has especially in the past few years impacted our definitions of beauty and of course fitness too. All of this today, that too with a very diverse panel. Let me introduce you to my today's panel. My first panelist for the show today is Zara Butt, who's a holistic nutritionist. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show. Alongside her, I have Haider Ali Khan, who's a master fitness trainer. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show. My third panelist for the show today is Dr. Madiha Azmat Rao, who is an aesthetic physician. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show. And via telephone line, we'll be joined by Faraze Niazi, who is a mental health counselor. Assalamu alaikum ji and welcome to the show. To start the show with you, Zara, here we must talk about this very comparatively new concept of functional medicine as it does exist in Pakistan now. Now we have seen that it has become popular over a period of time with a lot of people preferring to go to doctors like yourself in this area as opposed to conventional doctors. But for the clarification of the audience, could you tell us what is the difference of approach experts like yourself take so as to treat people as opposed to the conventional doctors?
So conventional medicine has been around for a long time, and people, I guess generally people are not very satisfied with that because you're taking a medicine but you're not feeling better, you're not getting better. And with functional medicine, you look to find the root cause of the problem. If you're having a headache, the solution is not to take a migraine pill or to go and pop some Advil. It's basically just finding, there are several reasons why you might be having headaches over a period of time, and we try to find that and address the cause. And if it's some nutritional deficiency, we try to address that, whatever it is, basically.
Right. On which I'll come to you, Haider. We must take your narrative into account as well, that too as a master fitness trainer. Now we understand that you've been working in the US and now currently you are based in Pakistan, but how do you as a fitness trainer in your own right overall see the health and fitness training trends evolving? Because if you were to look at this from a very objective viewpoint, we understand that with every society, with every culture, there are particular cultural nuances attached to it.
Well, if I have to give a contrast, I got the biggest shock of my life back when I was in college in Penn State. I tried to join the soccer team in my school, and back when I was in Pakistan, I would play soccer all the time, and I thought that was it. But when I went there initially for the tryout, I learned that in a 2-hour soccer practice, the first 1.5 hours was just physical training, was just general fitness. Like they wouldn't even let you touch the ball till you were in the last half hour, and if you made it, that is, which I initially didn't.
So the test is very rigorous then, and this is nothing close to what we have here in Pakistan.
Exactly, like in Pakistan, you'll see that in our professional sports teams, you'll see athletes who are not fit. They're athletes, right? They are maybe good in the specific or the functional training, but they are not fit. So that is the biggest difference in the US as compared to Pakistan or even the rest of the world.
Right, but one question here, you're talking about specifically people who are from the sports, who are basically athletes. But what about the common person out there? Like if you were to then make this comparison with reference to the clients that you have here as a fitness trainer as opposed to what you had there, how do you see overall their goals changing? How do you see overall their fitness plans changing? Because then again, you see, we understand the fact that it's just not one size that would ideally fit all.
Everybody will be caught up. For example, if the new technologies that touch the West, eventually they do cater to the East too, but they are a year or two late to come here. For example, we still use iPhones in Pakistan, right? But the West is already using it and they're already over it. Over time, we do follow on the same trends, and when it comes to science and research, the basic trend is the same, that they'll eventually try it out first and then they'll send it to us.
Right. But coming towards you, here we must take your perspective into account as well. Now, the National Wellness Institute very categorically says there are 6 dimensions which would be included in anybody's holistic wellness, that being emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, social and occupational being the key components. So, when we talk about aesthetics, that too the way aesthetics has evolved in the Pakistani society, do you still feel that aesthetics is that one field which is rightly so included whenever we do consider our ever evolving definitions of health and wellness?
Skin is the largest organ of the body. It is a barrier between the external and the internal environment. So it tells us the stories, what is going on inside the body, plus what is going on inside the mind. So anything, if we are not looking good, we are not feeling good.
Right.
Suppose if a patient has facial hair, acne scarring, it can lead to many psychosocial problems.
Right.
And there are certain diseases which we can relate with the skin and the mental fitness.
Right.
So definitely there is a correlation between lifestyle, between health and between the beauty.
Right. So basically then it would be fair to say that considering that aesthetics, they help you in a way boost your self-esteem and improve on your mental health, by that virtue they would fall within the wellness definition. But do you not feel then that perhaps if we place too much stress on aesthetics only, not taking it along with having a more holistic approach like having the right nutrition, having a proper sleep cycle, perhaps working out regularly, that in itself would also be a very unbalanced approach?
No, actually we have been working with team of different doctors, which includes a nutritionist, which can include a person who is talking about the fitness,
Right.
definitely a lifestyle, sleeping habits and diet, it matters. If
Right.
we are going to take care of ourselves, if we want to look good, we have to watch all these things.
Right. And I think the perfect example of this is celebrities who
Definitely.
take everything along, be it aesthetics, be it fitness trainers like yourself, or even for that matter holistic nutritionists, on which I'll come to you, Ms. Farazeh, and here we must take your perspective into account as well. So when we do talk about mental health, we do understand the fact that over a period of time, more particularly after the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been more open conversations about mental health, which of course is a very positive development if we do construe it as a society. So how would you comment on that, and how do you see this opening up more leverage for us to have more open and honest conversations about the same?
I think one of the major factors is COVID. When COVID hit the world, and of course it hit us equally in Pakistan, people were isolated. Isolation is a very, very fearful and scary place to be. During the pandemic, all over the world, people started struggling with anxiety, stress, fear, thought, all kinds of mental disorders came up. And it was during COVID that in Pakistan also this awareness for mental health, this awareness to reach out to someone who could just listen to you, who could just hold your pain, who could understand your pain. So I think the major awareness that came regarding mental health here in Pakistan was during COVID.
Right, Faraz. But moving on, then when we do talk about mental health, we should also understand the fact over a period of time we have seen social media evolving so as to give more attention to body image and of course body positivity too. Whereas at one end we understand the fact social media has generally made people more aware about their health and fitness goal. We can't also ignore the fact the pressure with which social media comes, it can perhaps have a dark side to it too. People can be very obsessive regarding their weight goals, regarding their fitness goals. So in cases like these, what responsibility then lies on mental health counselors like yourself so as to ensure people, at least those who do approach you, they have realistic fitness goals?
Body image concerns, they include preoccupation and dissatisfaction with the body's appearance, including the shape and weight as well as other characteristics. So body image concerns are present across the globe, and because of the strong pressures, we pursue appearance ideals. Although these concerns may vary with cultural context, their prevalence, their association with poor mental and physical health, it's all global. And given these high rates and the negative effect of body image concerns, it is very important for mental health counselors, therapists to increase our efforts to prevent and decrease the effects that these evolving perceptions, negative, even sometimes positive ones, can have a lot of pressure on individuals. So that is something that we as mental health counselors, as therapists, need to kind of work on and process with our clients.
Right, Faraz. On which I'll come to you, Dr. Saab. You would have something to add to this, because of course when we do talk about body image and working towards, at least striving towards body positivity, I think people like yourself also have a very important role to play, because at one end you need to ensure that you are taking care of the client and their expectations, but you're not basically surpassing the boundaries too, because I think ethics here then have a very important role to play too. So how would you respond to that?
So one has to be very ethical. We have to tell the patients that they should look like themselves. They cannot look like some other celebrity, and they should not try copying some other being which is having all the privileges in their life. So they have to lead a normal life. They have to look after their health, their face, their skin, their body image also. So they have to watch their diet, no matter whatever they are working. They have to look for a good lifestyle, definitely.
Right. But moving on, if you were given that discretion, and this is a question which is often asked, especially from doctors, and I would want to put this to you as well. If you had to take somebody's case and if you had to refuse somebody's case, so what is like the line of distinction here? Because as a doctor yourself, as an aesthetic physician, I'm sure there's only so much that you can do. Of course, you cannot completely transform somebody. So where do you draw that line?
So we have to be very ethical. We have to stay in some boundaries to tell the patient that they cannot cross those limits, cross those boundaries rather. And I'm known to give like very ethical and very natural results. We should try giving them natural results, staying within the limits, looking at the economical condition of the patients. Definitely it is it matters in this part of the world. So we have to watch that, and anything which is not triggering their health issues, we have to look after them.
Right, on which I'll come to you. Madam has raised some very valid points with regards to economics being a very important factor. But you know, coming back to you with regards to your branch of medicine here, now we understand that you have been dealing with not one, rather several kinds of patient, more particularly you know, focusing on treating people, women particularly, who have hormonal imbalances or for that matter reproductive health issues too. So in this regard, how particularly is functional medicine more effective than conventional medicine? Because I'm sure those people who are coming to you, they would have been to a conventional gynecologist before too.
If you're talking about cost wise, first of all, it pays off in the long run because that's right what you said, that it is over a period of time. So it's not just a one-off consultation. If you're wanting to see actual improvements, you're going to have to maintain a lifestyle and dietary changes for at least 3 to 6 months.
Right.
And then if you're looking to reverse your PCOS, that's how long it takes for your body to respond to all the inputs that you've been putting into that. And if you're talking about other hormonal imbalances, we're talking about starting from puberty. Early puberty for girls nowadays is an issue for a lot of mothers are facing. Then in your 20s, there's such a lot of stress in life, generally speaking, that women are missing their cycles and having other problems as well. And pre-menopausal women have their different set of complications and problems. When you're going to a conventional doctor, basically there is no pill, there is no medicine that would cure it, because everything is stemming from slight hormonal imbalances, which are best addressed by taking natural modifications through food, through supplement, through lifestyle changes.
Right, lifestyle change, that is something I would want you to elaborate on.
Basically, your hormonal balance is a delicate balance. So if you are, everything is going fine, then you are not going to see anything come up. But if you, and that would mean an eradication of the problem. When everything is in balance. You come up with symptoms when anything goes out of line. If you don't sleep, if you sleep less than 5 hours, if you are working out too much actually, as opposed
you're too stressed.
You're too stressed and you cannot handle the stress in your life. It's just too much. Life is too much for you. The work that you have to do in your household, in your job, everything just amounts to too much. There's too much on your plate.
So it would be fair then to say that you would also be working in effective collaborations with mental health experts like Faraze too.
Absolutely.
By that yardstick.
There are criteria which we go through and which
and even fitness experts like Heather.
Absolutely.
Heather, but you know, when we talk about this, so how is it that people like yourself not only engage experts like her so as to make your fitness plan more effective? Because a lot of times we see people are just resorting to one professional. They would just prefer going to maybe a fitness expert like you, but kind of miss her out. They would want to perhaps just go to mental health expert but not go to someone like you. So how do you ensure that somebody who is coming to you, somebody who is seeking to improve their physical health, is also at the same time improving their lifestyle too?
Well, the socio-cultural factor that kicks in our society that is a little different or unique is malnutrition. So I have a lot of clients, as opposed to the US where obesity is a pandemic. In Pakistan, we have a lot of clients who want to gain weight. And not just gain like slight amounts of weight, but like gain 20-30 kgs of weight just to fall in the regular standard for their age, weight and height.
Right, okay.
So that is something that's unique to our society.
And this is more common for men, or is it more common for women?
Equally.
Equally, right.
Equally.
So at least, you know, commenting from the viewpoint of women, at least the women that I've come across that way, a lot of women would rush to trainers like yourself to lose weight just a few months before they are getting married. So how is it fitness trainers like yourself, you actually convince the client that this is something which should be sustainable, this is something which should be permanent, it should be a long-term goal? Just because you're doing something for a couple of months won't be equally effective.
The simple fact of the matter is believing truly and honestly, like as an individual, about what a healthy lifestyle's benefits are. So if I believe that a healthy lifestyle is the way to be, it's the beneficial way to be, then it's very easy for me to convince my clients, no matter or regardless of the reasons that initially come to me for, which is what makes it sustainable. So somebody maybe came to reduce their weight initially, or gain some weight or gain some muscle, but after they speak to me and after they spend a couple of sessions, I'll make sure that I educate them enough to be convinced that throughout their life, it's the most amazing thing they can do for themselves to be healthier. So in that perspective, I would tell them things like, let's say if they're married, I would tell them how they could spend more time actively with their children, how they could, or if it's women who are, you know, they do the groceries or something, I'll let them know how it's easier to pick up, you know, the bags if they are lifting the weight.
So basically then it's a lifestyle change, and this is something which you earlier mentioned as well. But Dr. Saba, here we must take your perspective into account as well. Now he stressed upon something which is very important, that is education. So when we talk about the evolving role of social media, we do know that it has educated people. It has made that average Pakistani more aware of what is good, what is not, and what are the latest fitness trends, so to speak. But has it not also put a toll on people like yourself? Because now, if I was to construe this from your perspective, there's definitely more competitive pressure on you so as to satisfy your patients too with regards to their respective health and fitness goals.
So we are there to educate the people. Basically, doctors are meant to educate the people as well. We have to clear up some myths which they have been believing for long. So definitely it's a part of our job to educate them and let them know what is good for them and what is not. So it falls in our entity to tell people what to do, what to stop, what to eat. And definitely a healthy lifestyle, it matters. Basically, I believe it's a teamwork.
Right.
So we have to watch what the nutritionist is talking about. We have to see what the life coach is talking about and what the health says about. So it's a mix and match.
It's a mix and match. That's very
everything,
right.
yeah.
So what are those most popular treatments that people usually opt for, especially the younger lot?
They come for basically they want to look good. This is the main issue that they come to our clinics. Sometimes the youngsters are suffering from acne, acne scarring, facial hair, hair loss. So these are basically and genuine problems which we have to tackle, which we have to take care. And sometimes people want certain celebrity-like faces. Everybody wants to look good and young.
But do you not feel here, Dr. Saiba, that when we do talk about men, we've also seen men over a period of time evolve to be more aware about their health and wellness goals, and they in themselves have also been very forthcoming with regards to seeking aesthetic treatments. How does this compare and contrast with the people that you have with regards to, you know, the clients that you do train? So how is your customer base similar or different to what she says?
Well, initially people will come with mindsets like that sometimes, but be it be men or women, once they come to me, it's my job to counsel them to feel comfortable with themselves, to have goals that are more sustainable, and not be bothered with, you know, changing things that are natural, because natural is the way to go sustainably. So I'll counsel them to be more comfortable, or at least use sustainable practices to improve on something, even if they're not comfortable with themselves. I mean, you have to be uncomfortable with yourself to grow, right? That is key.
True.
But I'll tell them to use good mental health practices, good workouts, good diet
But then
routines.
they can also resort to aesthetic treatments like those which have a slimming effect. For example, hypothetically speaking, if you are training somebody to lose weight, then perhaps they could complement it by going to a doctor like herself and seeking a slimming treatment as well. So we need to understand that again, in the end, it is a collaborative effort. There could be instances where people could actually combine not one, rather various treatments together.
Well, regardless of being collaborative, there has to be a reason, right, initially, that if they're not getting the results from natural ways, if they're not getting the results from a good diet, a good disciplinary routine, if they're waking up on time, if they're having their breakfast on time, if they're having 3-4 meals, and so on and so forth. Now, if all of those things done right doesn't work, then as a fitness professional, I'm capable enough to understand, okay, in what regards do they need to, or in what other professionals they need to consult, and working with a multidisciplinary team, I'll make sure that I do that for them.
Right.
So for example, in women, we were talking about PCOS, right? So if I feel like there is a hormonal imbalance in one of my clients, initially we'll try to use fitness and diet, but if it doesn't work, then we'll side by side collaborate with a gynecologist as well.
Right.
Right.
So you're open,
but not
from the very start.
Not on the end of aesthetics, though.
Right. But you see, then again, I feel this is a very subjective decision, because I have come across fitness trainers who would very happily either collaborate with holistic nutritionists like her, or even aesthetic physicians like her too, on which I'll take you on board, Ms. Faraz. And here we must take the mental health narrative into account as well. Now, studies suggest the fact one's sound mental health can possibly actually reduce one's chances of actually getting either a heart attack or, for that matter, a stroke. But in this regard, then, to what extent do you feel individual mental health also dictate the consistency with which they can possibly adhere to any fitness regime?
Our mental health plays a huge role in our general well-being. When an individual is in a good mental state, the individual will be healthy. It will help prevent the individual some very serious health conditions. Many studies have found out that positive psychological well-being can actually reduce the risks of heart attacks and strokes. On the other hand, if an individual has poor mental health, it can lead to poor physical and also very harmful behaviors, and there then chronic diseases such as depression. It has been linked to many chronic illnesses, which include diabetes, asthma, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and arthritis. Schizophrenia has also been linked to a higher risk of heart and respiratory diseases. Mental health conditions can also make dealing with chronic illnesses very, very difficult. So an individual who is mentally healthy, who is mentally at a place where he or she feels calm and relaxed and emotionally regulated, will obviously work towards consistency in his life. Now, consistency in anything, whether it is in your physical regime, whether it is in your actions, whether it is in your professional place, consistency is the key to success. So, an individual who is mentally sound, mentally regulated, is mentally fit and healthy, will work towards a consistent physical fitness routine.
Right, Ms. Faraz. And in this regard, one thing that I would want to add is the fact one's positive self-perception is definitely something which can help one better comply with fitness regime more consistently too, on which I'll come to you. Would you want to add something to what she said?
With today's highly processed diet, a lot of junk food, especially for younger lot, I think older people, they still tend to stick to their, traditional meals of salan, roti. They want to have the whole thing. But for younger generation, the junk food is ruining their microbiome, which is basically your gut health, which is directly related to your brain health.
Right. So everything is so interrelated.
Absolutely.
But when we talk about functional medicine, another aspect that I would want to delve upon is that of telemedicine. Now, in the COVID-19 times, we saw telemedicine emerge to be something so popular. It was that one thing which actually helped people access the healthcare system in times where physically you couldn't reach out to medical healthcare professionals. But when we talk about functional medicine, how well equated, how well does it fit in with this entire concept of telemedicine?
It's built into that because we have for functional medicine and other naturopathic practitioners as well, and nutritional experts. We have these apps in which you can do your video conference call with your which I use as well with your clients, and you can track their fitness as well through the various wearables that they have. If it's your continuous glucose monitor, we can get readings from that and input it into a system. If you have an Apple Watch or any other kind of gadget which you're using, so you can tell us what the readings are, and then we can monitor your progress over a period of time.
Right.
And video calls is so much easier. It doesn't matter where you're sitting in the world.
So that's definitely a very positive thing, because generally we see technology, more particularly after the COVID-19 pandemic, has helped us access the healthcare system in perhaps a more effective way. On which I'll come to you, Heather, and here we must talk about your interesting initiative with regards to environment sustainability too. So could you tell us, when you talk about environment sustainability, how is it that you've taken this initiative along with your fitness regimes? Because we did see, I remember a few years ago in Lahore as well, all these very rigorous, cycling campaigns where all these environmentalists, they were not only propagating for the environment, but they're doing it in a way which also encourages people to be more fit.
So how it intertwines is that, let's say you go out for a run. In your mind, it's a healthy activity. You're supposed to improve your cardio health, your heart health, your respiratory health. But in Pakistan, if you see the air quality index, you're probably getting yourself lung cancer. So we worked towards getting the first item, which was a single-use plastic bag, the use of that bag banned.
I remember.
Because as you burn plastic, of course, you're inhaling all those fumes, which is one of those reasons that we have smog in the winters and we have the quality of air, or the air pollution that we have. So that was one way. Another way we would use fitness and integrate that in our approach was that we would go to different schools and we would take all the children from that school for a walk. In that walk, we would clean up the plastic from around their school, maybe like 1 kilometer of distance. And so that improved their environment as well as giving them a walk for that matter.
That's a very interesting way to look at things, because you see, then you're just not looking out for the environment that way, you're also motivating people to actually be fit, that to younger children. And in this regard, you were also telling me that you do have some walks lined up too in the upcoming months. So are you particularly aiming to work for the greater good of the environment through these walks, or are those walks just focused upon making sure that people are fit, they take their necessary steps so as to stay fit and healthy?
Well, it's a positive circle, all of it, right? It's an ecosystem. So once you get fit, what then? Right? Once you lose that 10 kgs of weight, and once you gain those 10 kgs of muscles, or in it, you reverse the symptoms of your
Right.
PCOS, or 3 to 6 months or 1 year of training has gone by. What now? So what, as a fitness expert, I like to tell people is that make your healthy lifestyle sustainable, and for that, of course, you need goals that are bigger than yourself, goals outside just the aesthetics, or just these smaller goals that can be achieved in a shorter amount of time.
It actually makes your goals more sustainable that way.
Right.
That would be, I think, the right way to put
Right.
that.
So a good activity or good way to do that is the triathlon. You could train for it. You could train for a marathon. We have shows in Hollywood like the American Ninja Warrior, or such franchises or such activities. So
Right.
we lack these in Pakistan right now. So what I'm trying to do is bring some of these activities to Pakistan.
Perhaps you can be the trendsetter that way, right?
I hope so,
Right.
but I would want to encourage everybody who's watching to start such trends, to make more, because I would like to participate in such things as well.
Right, Heather, your point is noted, on which I'll come to you, madam. Now we understand the fact generally the way health and fitness has now been redefined definitely does include the usage of aesthetic medicine. But overall, do you not feel criticism which is generally levied on physicians like yourself, or even those who do want to access aesthetics, is they're too expensive? So only if somebody was rich would they be able to get such treatment. So how would you respond to that?
It's not only about injecting some fillers or Botox or getting some very expensive lasers for the face. It's basically about cleanliness, hygiene, how to take care of the skin, how to take care of the body, taking some vitamins, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, eating healthy products. Definitely it all comes in a combo.
Right.
So it's a teamwork basically, and we have to see what we can offer to our patients. I give very good advices on social media.
On which I'll come to you, Faraz. When we do talk about the general stigma which unfortunately still surrounds people who do suffer from not one, rather various mental health disorders, how do you as a mental health care professional propose that we can actually work to create more safe spaces so as to have more open and of course mature conversations regarding the same?
There are many taboos around mental health, but I think the most important one that I see my clients struggling with is a lot of discrimination, a lot of shame and judgment. And what is really heartbreaking to see is that most of this shame, most of this judgment and discrimination is coming from their close family members and their loved ones, labeling them as someone who is not normal, labeling them as someone who is not a part of the family, or maybe black sheep of the family. So it is really sad to see how people still shame and judge the people who are closest to them, who are their loved ones, because there is no awareness when it comes to mental health. About 800,000 people die of suicide every year, according to the World Health Organization, which equates to one every 40 seconds, and that's despite the global progress in preventing suicides. There's another recent study in Hong Kong which also showed the suicide rate for the elderly, which is much higher than the rate for other age groups. So a person's state of mind has a lot to do with that. Experts have also said that the pressures of modern day life, of social media, job safety, finances, and the belief that he or she is on this journey alone has a lot to do with how we act and sometimes react. So it's not just the young people or people in their middle age or people in much younger in their teens. It is basically everyone. And the taboos have to be broken. And they are being broken also. I mean, I do see many people coming to me, breaking those taboos and taking the brave step to come and seek help and support.
That's right, Faraz. And in this regard, I feel then it's very important that we also project more people who have been successful fighting out not one, rather various mental health disorders. But when we do talk about mental health, it's equally important then to also talk about the mental health of therapists like yourself. So in the case of therapists burnout, what are the self-care strategies that people like yourself employ so as to effectively fight it out?
Emotional distress is a very normal part of life. And as therapists and as a therapist, I also experience mental health concerns from time to time. Working with clients mismatched to our skills and specialities, dealing with paperwork, putting in long hours, juggling our personal lives, working as a mental health provider, it creates unique stressors. And it does put therapists at a high risk of burnout. So if these are left unchecked, emotional distress and high levels of stress can contribute to burnout for a therapist, leaving the therapist exhausted, drained, and unable to keep with the demands of running our practices. Some common signs of burnout could be emotional exhaustion, compassion fatigue, it could be feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness.
Right, Faraze, your point is noted, on which I'll come to you, madam. And before we conclude today's show, here we must talk about the most common myths that you do come across in your work, either as a holistic nutritionist or, for that matter, as a functional medicine expert. So what are the most common issues that you come across, rather the most annoying ones, and how would you debunk the same?
Generally speaking, if there's a girl coming in with PCOS, her mother is coming in and saying, is she going to have a baby? Which is totally, because PCOS is reversible, and there is no cure for it, because it is not something which comes up and it is on you, like, God forbid, cancer or something like that. So PCOS is just a metabolic dysfunction, and it is reversible, and of course you can conceive after that.
Right.
Besides that, common autoimmune diseases, there's a lot of things that people say that, okay, I have a certain autoimmune disease and I'm going to be on this medication for all of my life. Whereas if you're making sustainable lifestyle and nutrition related changes,
Right.
you can reverse it and you can go back into the normal range. Even you can, something like as severe as not being able to get up and perform your everyday life, you can regain your bodily functions when you have a collaborative team working for you and become healthy.
Right, madam, on which I'll come to you, Heather, and here we must also talk about this concept of DNA-based coaching, the purpose of which is, of course, to help trainers like yourself actually guide people so as to better achieve their fitness goals. So how would you explain this concept, and how do you feel it can be that one thing which can be that conclusive factor so as to guide people better regardless their health and fitness regimes?
When we come to personal training, right, we're looking at the unique individual. So initially, like, let's say you're my client, you come to me, I'll look at your physical, I'll observe you physically, right? After that, I'll ask for let's say a history of your health, of your physical background, of your fitness background,
Right.
After knowing all these things, typically we'll start you on a fitness program and we'll design a diet plan. But how can I further know you as a unique individual to make that happen more effectively?
So that is where tests like these,
that is
they come in
exactly
very
where
handy.
the genetic-based fitness design comes in. Basically, that is the last of it. That is the final point of your uniqueness, your DNA. There is nothing beyond that. So that is where personal training science ends. Anything we're going to learn is going to be inside what we've already learned, but there is no uniqueness at this point, at least to me personally, that goes beyond your genetics.
Right. So it would be then that one most conclusive test so as to be able to guide you that what is it that you need to actually focus on so as to reach your ideal fitness goals. Coming towards you and to conclude today's show, Dr. Saiba, so what is it that you feel would be the future of aesthetic medicine in Pakistan? Perhaps a decade from now. We have seen this branch of medicine evolve more particularly in the last 1 decade, but how do you see it further evolving in the coming decade too?
So you would be looking towards more natural results, more non-surgical options for which can deliver better results, and having good skin, having good quality of hair, so you don't have to put loads and loads of makeup over your faces to hide your concerns, to hide your flaws. So you should be looking forward to having beautiful skin, beautiful
Right.
hair.
So, looking natural would be the trend which would follow through, and I think it is a very positive thing, because at the
Definitely.
end of the day you should end up looking a better version of yourself. On which I'll come to you, Ms. Farazian, before we conclude today's show. So, what is that advice that you would want to give to all the people out there, especially when it comes to finding that ideal balance between both their professional life as well as their personal life? How is it that people can today prioritize self-love, which is of course the fundamental of sound mental health?
So, to improve our general well-being, we need to take care of both our physical and mental health. And some ways to take care of ourselves physically and mentally, first and foremost, is regular exercise. Now, exercise is important because it keeps us physically fit. It can also help improve our mood. It releases the hormone dopamine, and dopamine is the happy hormone. It makes us feel energetic and happy. A daily 10-minute walk, it can increase our mental alertness. It can leave us feeling energetic, in a good mood. Then eating a proper diet, nutritious foods, foods which are high in fruits, a diet which is high in fruits and vegetables and low in processed sugars, fats. They can also make us feel better physically and mentally. We can always seek help from a qualified nutritionist to help us create a diet plan customized according to our needs. Avoid smoking, because smoking makes us feel better in the short term, but it has a negative effect on our physical and mental health. Sleep. A good night's sleep is about 7 to 9 hours for adults. It can make us feel refreshed, rejuvenated, and of course it will have a huge impact on our physical and our mental health. And we can also take about a 30-minute nap during the day. That makes us feel more alert. Different relaxation techniques like meditation, deep breathing, focusing our thoughts, that they can all help us when we are feeling stressed. And then, of course, good mental practices like focusing on positive emotions, different types of therapeutic techniques. CBT is a technique which really helps us focus on our thought processes, and it can actually make us focus more on positive thoughts. And then, of course, seeking help from others, seeking support, emotional support. That's a very important part. It can play a very important part in our physical and our mental health.
Right, Farazia, your point is noted. On which note I would like to conclude today's show. Thank you so much, Zara. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you so much, Dr. Saiba. And thank you so much, Ms. Farazia, for your precious time today. Well, to conclude today's show, we generally spoke about the ever-evolving health and fitness trends as they have evolved in the Pakistani society. In this regard, one positive development that we do see emerging is the fact that overall, generally, people now are more aware and also more open to having open conversations about mental health issues. What of course we need to prioritize as a society, as individuals, is to focus on self-love, is to focus on self-care, because they very rightly say when they say that everything else falls into line only when you learn to love yourself. On that note, signing off for today. Until next time, take care and Allah Hafiz.